Recording. Awesome. So we have Donna, me, Dave. So we have 4 people now. We do have a quorum.
Miriam Tavens is trying to join the meeting, but
who is?
Miriam Tavens, let me see. I'll send forward this link to her. Well,
thank you. Yeah, I don't know why this link. I mean, I made the link and I scheduled it, and then now they say it's a bad link. So, has anyone else had that issue?
Yes, I was not able to connect when I first tried, about 5 minutes of. But now,
yeah. I'm just saying, yeah, okay. I just don't know why. I mean, I had the same problems. I mean, I made the link about 3 weeks ago. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay. So, got a lot of interesting stuff to share today. Here we go. Here's Miriam.
Good.
So why don't we get started? That's okay. Okay, Donna, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Excellent.
I can hear you.
Excellent. Okay, so I want to welcome everybody. We are waiting for Andrew, who's in UK, and Yogesh is not going to join us because he's got a birthday party for his kid, and one other person. Am I missing someone else? Oh, Ralph. Ralph said he is coming.
Yes, he did.
Okay. So let me just say, I'll just send him a note and then, sorry. Okay. Okay, so why don't we just start by approving the minutes. I sent the minutes to everybody. Does anyone have any questions about the minutes? And if not, could someone please motion to accept the minutes, please?
I can't because liaison.
I'll motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you.
Veronique.
Thank you, Donna. And if you could please, Veronique, are you there? Because we need you to vote.
Yes, I actually just talked and said that I would second approving the minutes. So,
okay. So if you don't want to show your photo, could you just put your yellow hand up to show that you, or just say you approve yes? So all in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Okay, excellent. So that is passed. Thank you. All right, the next on the agenda is discussion and recommendation of the possibility of having solar panels in our town. The 2 locations that I would like to discuss with you again is the pool house roof, which has a roof facing to the south. The trees are away from the pool house, and in the wintertime, there's no leaves, which is good because that's when the sun is lower. In the summertime, there's a lot of open sky during the day. Even if we have a partially occluded rooftop, the SRECs, it turns out the DC electric grid is not just in DC, but it comes into our neighborhood up until Dorset Avenue. So anyone who lives on Dorset Avenue, like Yogesh, he gets like over a $400 per unit credit, which is quite substantial. And the return on the investment is this solar contractor that I contacted, they typically have like a 7-year payback. And with these SRECs, you could almost hit the ground running with not a whole lot of initial investment because the DC SRECs are so valuable. So that would be, even if it's partially occluded by trees, it's still worth our while from a financial point of view to do it, to install it. So it does. And of course, we would need Matt, per our recommendation, we would need Matt to get some contractors in to assess that. The other one is on the north side of the tennis courts, which is a sloped space. That space is not on a structure, it's just on grass. And because of that, I had a Zoom call with Matt and the Montgomery County land and what's the name of it? It escapes me now, but there's a process.
The planning board?
Parks and Planning, it is.
Yeah, Parks and Planning, yeah.
And there is a process by which they can, that they would give us approval. And they were open to allowing us to explore this possibility. The one thing about this one is that it would be completely clear sky. The panels would be mounted against the slope on the north side of the tennis courts, raised about 2 feet above the slope so that they could maintain it underneath it. And then there would be some slight visibility because it would be at 2 feet high on the street. So we would have to plant some bushes to make it invisible. I did actually talk to our council member, one second. Who did I speak with? Shannon Rovak, who lives on that street. And I talked to her about the possibility of doing that. And she can't speak for everyone on the street, but she has already indicated that it seemed fine from her perspective. She did mention, that I should talk to Susanna Goodman, whose house is on the west side, on the far side away from the town hall, so that we could have on the west side to make it not visible. And I also spoke with Carrie Wolford, our tennis committee chairman, about that project and whether that would in any way interfere with tennis players. I'm a tennis player myself. So, together we talked about it and we saw, since there is a green panel on all the fences, it would not even really be visible from the tennis courts. So, and then the last piece of information about that is we do have like 3 or 4 meters in our town. One of the meters is on the tennis court side of the town hall, which would be the natural location where we would tie it into. But there is another meter on Wisconsin Avenue, about 100 feet north of Dorset Avenue. And that meter is tied into the DC grid. So if we could somehow run an underground cable from those solar panels to that meter, then we would be able to, even if it cost us like $10,000 or $20,000 to run that meter, we would be able to be a part of the, I don't know how much the SRECs cost in Montgomery County, but I think it's something like $50. It's.
So I'm trying to raise my hand. I have no idea how, because I'm not.
Hand is raised.
So I don't know. I have the impression this is the second time that we discussed this, that we go into a lot of details, and I'm just thinking this is most likely, the occasion to have some kind of wide RFP that's sent to a few, a few providers, let them come out with like the 2 possibilities. And I actually was looking, because I think my neighbor knows this, recently I was looking for making sure that I was connected to the DC grid. But, you know, let them figure it out. But I would actually not be sure, for example, that a situation where you run a wire to connect to the DC grid is acceptable, and that might have to go all the way to the PSC, et cetera. It gets complicated. And then, but I still find that what you're doing is like putting those pieces of information that are useful for anybody that comes in. What I'm still missing every time that I'm trying to understand this is what is our use? Like, so we are allowed in Maryland, actually, I've discovered that we're allowed to put 200% of our annual use. And at one point this will go away, but there is like the allowable 1.5 megawatt that can do this. Not megawatt, but so the question is, what are we like running it against? What is the town's use? Is it the pool plus the town? You know, I'm not exactly sure. So is it one account?
We have 4 meters, but we can do virtual metering. Where
yeah,
we can,
of course, every meter
can use the panels.
Yeah, they can all do virtual metering, but do they?
I was just answering your question.
Oh, sorry, you cut. Go ahead.
So as far as whether or not, you know, how many panels to put in, you know, I think we have 190 kilowatt hours that our town uses each year or something like that. And so the actual details of how large of the project we need, that's something that it needs to be hammered out, because like I said, the solar, the pool roof is partially occluded. So it's hard to know exactly, it would have to be calculated. So basically what I'm doing tonight is I'd like to propose that we make a recommendation to the town council to go forward and get some bids and start the process of seeing the viability of creating solar panel in both those locations, and then passing it. And I've already spoken to Matt about it. So he's open to doing this project. So it really be just our recommendation to go forward with studying the viability of doing that to offset our town's carbon footprint.
Okay, so so it's not the town carbon's footprint. You need to offset your electricity use, and I still don't know how much kilowatt hours we're using a year to know if it's a worth it project. Do we know that?
Our town, I just told you how much our town consumes each year.
Oh, okay, maybe it cut the communication.
190,000 kilowatt hours
okay.
year.
Okay, that's it. Yeah, that seems high. That's good. This is probably the pool. And then in that concept, so it's like putting all the criteria. Are you gonna just let Matt from there carry it on? Or are we gonna put some, yes. Okay. He could, you know, one of the things we could say is we recommend it, but if he wants to pass through his RFP through the people in this group, we could give him feedback, you know, or the bids later on, if he wants a little group to look at it.
Right.
You know,
that's
obviously, yeah, he's going to have issues, including the roof age, etc. And then I will tell you that in Maryland, the solar RECs are currently in the $55 to $70.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that. So basically, those are good points, and I think that the motion we do tonight would include, you know, asking Matt to consider bringing in some, you know, EC members to collaborate with them if he so chooses to help during that process.
Barton, my hand is raised. I'm not sure you can see it on your phone.
Go ahead.
I have a couple of questions. One is, I'm just a little confused, didn't Bugs already have a conversation, and someone did pencil this out before for the pool roof? And so I'm curious what's changed.
Nothing's really changed. The only thing that's changed is including the pool roof, because we sort of like decided not to do the pool roof, but
right,
we didn't. Yeah, so that's the only thing that's changed. And then the thing that I have come to understand with working with Matt and talking to Kabir in particular, and also with Robin offline, is that, you know, it's okay for us just to to make the recommendation and let them run with it. That we don't have to do all the footwork of getting the contractors and doing this whole process of with the Parks and Planning.
Okay, so back to the pool roof. That's my question. Is that I thought that the conclusion from that last one was that it didn't pencil out. So I guess my question is, what changed on the pool roof?
Yes, I'd like to ask the same question.
Yes, what's changed is that the SRECs were not taken into consideration in the calculation. That even if you have first of all, the person that did the calculation for Andrew, he didn't actually visit the site. He did it all remotely. And the second thing is, even if it was only like say 50 or 60% visible to the sun, or I think it's actually more than that, to be perfectly honest, because I've been down there multiple times, that with that, and also the very valuable SRECs, that it is worthwhile for us to set out a bid to see exactly what the return on the investment time period is for that. So that's just my own homework that I've done in the meantime.
Okay, that's fine. Was just confused why we're all of a sudden looking at it since we did it before. Just FYI, I was able, after a lot of trouble getting it in Maryland, I ran into barriers getting my SREC. I finally got it, my DC SRECs approved, and so I'm on Dorset over near Little Falls, and definitely we are part of the DC grid. And you can go on to the DC website and you can find a map that will show you exactly where it is. And the only one in Somerset that's not is Little Cumberland, because they are connected to a feeder that comes down from Wisconsin. So yes, you're exactly right about the need for the wire. So yes, the pool would definitely be able to get SRECs. The second question is, why does Parks and Planning need to give approval for us putting something on a curb strip that's on town right away?
That's a more extensive, that's an interesting question, and I have the answers, and I've already had a Zoom call with Matt. I don't understand the structure of all the county, but the way the permitting services work, here's Ralph. Welcome, Ralph. The way the permitting services works is because it's not a solar panel on a structure, it's not a part of a structure, they can't get a permit unless Parks and Planning weighs in particular, because this is public land. It's like government land, the tennis courts. And I'm synopsizing. I'm sorry I don't have this in the front of my mind, but they need to, it's called, let me see what it's called. There's a term where they make an exception to the rule and allow us to put this solar panel in a public field. And it has to be done through Parks and Planning.
So if we were to put like another ball court or a tennis court anywhere on our parks, we'd have to go to Parks and Planning?
Well, a tennis court is not a structure. I think this because it's above ground, it's a structure. So it's a little bit different. I don't need to go into belabor. I'm finding it curious that, this requires that, but that's fine. I don't need to belabor. I just want to understand what was the reasoning. Yeah. Like I said, Matt was on the phone with me, and they outlined the process of how to do it. So, anybody else have any more questions about the solar panel projects, concerns?
Have you been in touch with anybody from the pool committee about the idea of putting the panels on the pool house?
Well, actually, that's a very good question, but this was how the whole conversation started. Matt Zaff came to me and committee and said, we would love to really put panels on our roof. Is it possible? And how do I do it? Do I do it through you? So that's sort of how the whole thing started.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, well, I think that—
I think Ralph has asked a question.
Someone else.
I want to apologize for being late. I've had some physical problems today and I am really drugged up and it just sort of slipped by me, but I'll listen and try not to be obnoxious.
Hilarious. So does anyone want to like create a motion to make this recommendation in like say that would be awesome. Veronique or Donna or David?
I'll have to frankly say I don't think I agree with it. So I'm not going to make the motion.
Okay. Do you have some concerns you want to share, Donna?
I think we dump an awful lot of stuff on Matt and we expect him to sort it out. And I think that we need a better handle on what actually we want and can do before we dump it on him.
Well, thank you for that concern. And I am concerned about the amount of work that Matt does. And I'd like to say that I did talk to Matt about the project and he actually is very excited about it. So, and I also told him that I'd be happy to be his right-hand man during this process. And anyone else on this committee can be a part of it as well. But I will say, just from my conversations with Matt, and I speak to him pretty regularly, that he is very interested in leading this project from the town's point of view.
Have you got a sense of the capital costs of the projects that might help?
Say that again, Robin.
What the capital costs are of the projects, in other words, to install panels in both places.
Yeah, well, that's what Matt will do.
Yeah, but if you've got some initial sense, like, are we talking about hundreds of thousands or 50,000 or 20,000 or what?
Right. Well, the thing about it is I have gotten that quote from Andrew. I have to dig it up, but we have a preliminary estimate for that. And I can continue to put some preliminary numbers together. But the people that I contacted to do a quote for the tennis court idea, they were reluctant to give numbers until they knew that it was a viable project, because they were concerned that we couldn't get permitting. And that's why I went to the Parks and Planning with Matt and found out that it is a viable option. So I don't have their numbers yet, but I do plan to follow up with them. And, if we get preliminary numbers and that says this is going to be crazy, then, then we'll just deal with it at that point. Veronique?
It's actually a question to Robin. I think I understand, your the concern of giving a lot to Matt. I think for, his role in a young guy like him, that's probably extremely exciting to kind of get into, that's built a new structure in town. That being said, Robin, are there conditions sometimes where the town manager can hire, whether it's an architect or another urban planner, and I guess then it would be to decide, define for $3,000-4,000, where that person takes all the information they have from her and kind of offloads a lot and directs in the right, can do all the financial analysis of all of these people, and can have enough bids coming in as well. I think in terms of the capital cost, the question is likely hard, even if you would get today, the preliminary quote that was there. I assume that a lot of the installers have different financial models. So I think the town needs to also decide within that what financial model they will take, whether people will buy the SREX for a few times, whether it's just like a pay as you go, or whether it's a capital investment and we own it from the get-go. So that kind of thing needs to go in the RFP. But my first thing is, do we have money for Matt to get help because I don't know his background, you know, depending on his background.
Right. The answer is if the council approves at least gives preliminary approval to installing solar panels in the two places, then it's possible for Matt to request money to help him write the RFP or make decisions.
Okay.
The council has to approve it first, though.
Okay. So I would, Donna, I don't know if that would help you, but personally, something added in the whatever text we have for today to the fact that, you know, we recognize that he may need help is, you know, and asking the council to approve it. Something like this could be useful. Now, I'm not actually going to design the sentence for approval today. So someone else is going to help you tag it.
Donna, was the last 2 minutes helpful for you, for your concerns?
Yeah, I just don't think it's a good idea, so I don't want to propose it as something coming from me.
Okay, you mean you don't think it's the idea of putting up solar panels is a good idea, or the idea of burdening Matt?
I think we aren't organized enough to give him something to do at this point, and that's my concern.
Okay. Well, the idea is that we are not the information would come from contractors. We would ask them to bring the proposals forward. That's the way it works. I mean, I've studied the viability with Matt, that this is a viable option. And now the next step is to engage contractors to submit proposals. That's sort of the process.
No. The next step, Barton, is for Matt to create an RFP where all the data is there and you have a number of contractors that bid. The problem, and I deal with this with other places we go, there are two ways of doing things. There's a way where you have a bunch of contractors coming in and then you start comparing and everybody's telling you different things and you don't have a base to compare them. So this is where personally, given the complexity of what you're finding out already, I personally think this could be better served by a professional RFP that will have everybody look at the roof condition. Everybody look at the situation of, you know, wiring something. Otherwise, what you get is pieces that become very, very difficult for the council to vote on a winner or for Matt to suggest a winner. So that's my 2 cents. I'll leave it at that. But for me to vote on that, I would, you know, I really think that a proper RFP needs to be done. So that's my take.
I'll have some language as I wrote down. I'd be happy to, you know, to put a motion in. I'm happy to also be edited. So it'd be the committee proposes that the town put out to bid to install solar panels on the pool house roof and along the street near the town tennis courts.
Based on some RFP something.
Well, I said put out to bid. Should we want me to add, you know, through an RFP?
Yeah, because otherwise, again, or it could be terms of reference, you know, some level, you can write basic terms of reference or RFP, but we need to be able to compare apples and bananas. Again, I am not sure, Robin, how the town usually works for any of these contracting work. So maybe I'm out of whack there, but I'll let you add any comment on that.
I mean, the RFPs that Matt has written so far, he's gotten pretty good guidance from committees like the RFP for the website. The communications committee gave pretty extensive guidance to Matt, but he was part of the process. He attended the communications committee and so listened carefully to that and then constructed the RFP based upon that.
Okay.
The other RFPs that we do are routine, and you know, I mean, I've written the trash RFP myself and given it to him as a way to do it. Yeah, I was actually to Rich Charnovich in that then. But he has been more involved with committees in developing prior RFPs. Is basically what it comes down to.
Okay.
Right.
So
my motion's out there. Do you want me to read it again?
Sure, please go ahead, Dave.
I move that the committee adopt this motion, and the motion is the committee, Environment Committee proposes that the town put out to bid through an RFP process the installation of solar panels on the pool house roof and along the street near the town tennis courts.
no, I think you got to say the potential locations are tennis courts and pool house, period, or any other that the town seems fit. You know, but or start just with those, the potential locations are, because it's possible that only one of them in the end is workable or financially workable. So
that's a reasonable edit.
Yeah.
David, could you re-speak that?
Let me just,
well, let me try to raise my hand. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry about not showing my face. Robin, you have a good point. And actually I had a discussion with Barton today that I even personally lack time. Like I'm good at these meetings, but I lack time in between to construct anything that's good for the committee. So I recognize that other committees, you know, have been given more maybe to Matt. So at a minimum, is it useful if we put in that motion that the committee will support Matt with RFP review and proposal review? Is that useful? You will tell us.
If that was of me, some language like that could help, yes, and help the council understand that the committee is willing to give help.
Okay.
Okay. Dave, could you please add that to your motion?
I'm writing right down
the Environment Committee members would be willing to help in the process of reviewing RFP.
In the development and review.
Yes.
In development and review, yes. The Communications Committee did the review of the proposals for the website, and it was a heck of a lot of work, actually.
All right, so the Environmental Committee proposes that the town put out to bid through an RFP process. Let me get that down. The potential installation of solar panels on the pool house roof and along the street near the town tennis courts, period. The committee will, I can't read my own, the committee will support Matt in the committee members will support Matt in the development and review of this RFP.
Mm-hmm. Maybe at the end of tennis courts to say, or in a place that the town council sees fit, or something like that, just to show that there's flexibility. That's what Veronique asked for.
I was basically saying like it could be the pool or the tennis courts. I'm not sure.
That's fine.
Okay.
And or.
All right, so that's my motion.
Yeah, hi everybody. Happy to be here tonight. Just in terms of the wording, the last sentence, it was something about the committee will support. If you could read it again.
Yeah, it says the committee members will support Matt in the development and review of this RFP.
Do you want to say something about review of received proposals?
Yeah, you could do that.
Was that the point, that we would support them throughout the process, not just
and bids,
subsequent
development and review of this RFP and bids. It's,
yeah, that sounds good. Okay, I think we've hammered it out. And why don't you motion it one more time, and then we can.
All right, let me try it again. I move that the town, the environmental committee proposed that the town put out to bid through an RFP process the potential installation of solar panels on the pool house roof and or along the street near the town tennis courts. The committee members will support Matt in the development and review of this RFP and bids, period.
Do we want to include in other locations, or we know that's what the committee's going for?
I'm not sure there's any other
those locations are really,
yeah, I'm not sure there's really any other locations in town. There's that are sunny enough and that are available.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do I have anyone who was willing to second it from our environment committee? Veronique and Ralph, are you there?
Yes, just 1 minute. I have a hard time finding the hand for some reason. Raise hand. There you go.
Okay.
That's a second, I think.
Is that a second?
Yes.
Veronique? Okay. Okay, so I'd like to take a vote. For all those who would like to pass this recommendation, please say aye or raise your hands. Ralph and Donna, are you guys there?
I'm here. I was going to abstain because I wasn't here for most of the discussion, so I don't really feel qualified to vote.
Okay, well, we did have this whole discussion last meeting about this, just basically make a recommendation for Matt to develop RFPs and bids. Nothing really has changed from our discussion from 2 months ago, which you attended.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you weren't there last?
No, I missed that one.
Okay.
Is it so close that my vote is required?
We do need 4 votes, and I think Andrew didn't show up and Yogesh didn't show up, and we need 4 votes to pass. And I take from Donna's silence that she's still concerned about her concerns. Is that true, Donna? Are you with us?
I'm with you.
Okay. So
listen, maybe it doesn't pass this time, and we just need to continue to work on it.
Okay.
Well,
I have my hand up.
Say that again.
I have my hand up. Is there a mechanism? Miriam, I'm not a committee member, so I can't vote, but is there a mechanism for the draft to be circulated and voted out, between meetings, finalized between meetings, or you'd have to wait for next month?
We need another meeting.
Okay.
So I guess
what I do at the moment, Barton, is withdraw the motion. And you can certainly present it again next month with more members attending, presumably.
Okay. So.
And I suggest you circulate in your invite a draft motion.
Okay, I agree.
Okay, that's always useful for anything.
I will withdraw my motion, and I will type up the motion and send it to Barton.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Let's move on. I'm just gonna I'm going to skip one thing to the stray cats thing. And basically, you know, it turns out stray cats, people have been following the listserv. There's some issues with somebody's stray cats that they leave them out and they go all over the neighborhood. Turns out there's already laws in place. The Montgomery County, the Montgomery County Animal Control has laws, and they enforce and they contact people about it's not allowed to have cats that are basically trespassing other people's property on a continuous basis. So I don't really think we need to bring this topic up here at this meeting because it's already a law, and I'm going to contact the people who have been disturbed by this about contacting directly the animal control people to see how that process works. So I just wanted to give you an update. I'm sorry that I put that on the agenda item. So going back to the recommendation of incentives for transition of the gas-powered leaf blower flyers. This next month, I'm going to put out a flyer in English and Spanish, that basically flyer that we've already reviewed in previous month's meetings. So now's the time to do it. And the thing that Robin brought up is sort of adding some incentive programs so that people will feel the town's love towards this transition. And Robin offered the idea that maybe the town council would consider using some of the ARPA money to maybe purchase some battery-powered leaf blowers at the town hall that could be borrowed by landscapers if they so choose, so that would be available for them to continue their work while they do work through the transition. I just wanted to get anyone's feedback about that. And Robin, if you want to add more, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I was really trying to, in the articles, to get people thinking about incentives. And the history of this is that a lot of communities actually have banned gas-powered leaf blowers, and the bans themselves don't work without other things. One is enforcement, which we can't do very well ourselves. But the other is incentives. And if you combine incentives with the ban, then you actually get much more adherence to the ban than just the ban alone. So the question is, what kind of incentives can we introduce? Now, some of them are really simple. As I said in the article, we could just encourage people to allow landscapers to use their outdoor outlets to charge their batteries on their blowers. Then that stops them using their trucks and is a simple incentive. The other one I suggested was some kind of central program where the town has leaf blowers which the landscapers can book and rent out for use in the town. But they were meant to be just ideas, and if you've got other ideas for incentives, then by all means bring them up.
Does any committee members have any comments about this?
I think it's a good idea.
Thank you, Donna. I see Miriam has her hand up.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
Robin, thank you for doing the background work on this. I'm wondering if the studies that show that the requirements without incentives are not effective date from times when they were the first people passing bans on the gas-powered leaf blowers. Because at this point, I believe DC has it. Pretty sure the town of Chevy Chase has already been. Well, I think you know what I'm asking. Like,
it's very chancy. In other words, the history is not good of communities. Certainly, if you are part of a group of communities doing it, then it makes sense that you would have more likely have the landscapers follow it. I mean, I did ask one of the Ray brothers what percentage of his business was in DC, and he said 20%. Whether that's enough for them to switch over to battery-powered blowers, I don't know. That's the answer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I know that Enrica, who I saw on the street a couple of weeks ago, he said, you know, he's already been warned by the Chevy Chase Village that he needs to have all, you know, sustainable energy electric blowers for the Chevy Chase Village, and so he's in the process. Otherwise, he's going to get a $500 fine. So his incentive is he doesn't want that fine, and he's already made the decision to buy all new gear to accommodate all his clients, which he has a fair amount of them at Chevy Chase Village. So the you know, we're going to probably benefit from Chevy Chase Village's enforcement policy. Because we share a lot of the same landscapers just by virtue of proximity. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So, and also I just want to say that we already have and own 5 electric leaf blowers at the town hall. So we don't even really need to buy any at this moment. We could just sort of say we have them available. We don't even need to ask for money from the town council. It already exists. Now, of course, if it's very popular and we need 10 of them on a weekly basis, then that's when we would say, hey, we need to increase the size of this incentive program. Dave? You're
yeah, I guess I was a little confused at the beginning. Now what I'm understanding is that these would be the town would purchase these and they would be let out. So who's going to be there, when they have they want to come and pick it up and drop it off, who's going to be responsible for charging it, that type of stuff. I'm not totally sold on the idea, especially of the town. I think it needs to be thought through a lot more.
Yeah, and I mean, well, freely, I had not thought it through much more than just giving the idea. You could certainly sketch out some thoughts, but it's something that the committee could take on, thinking through how the program would work. And yes, we do have electric blowers in the town already, and we may not need to buy any more, but we need to set up a program whereby it was managed appropriately. Right. And as Dave is saying, they need to be charged and so on.
Right. So I think at this point in the flyers, go ahead, Veronique.
I just think it's a great idea, the idea of almost tool exchange, if I can, call it this way. But I think some of the reflection from the committee has to be whether they are there for landowners who are not using landscapers, or both landscapers and owners in town. So that's one thought. The other thing is, I do think there's always a way of creating some kind of shed where there's a code and people come and do their stuff, but there is a risk. So I applaud you for moving forward there. But I saw something this week that I wanted to, it made my day. Actually, a neighbor in Somerset was having Ray Brothers rake.
Right.
Whoa. That's great.
It's
shocking.
The corner of Wordwick and Essex. So I was like, I told you, I took a picture, and I have a younger daughter who worked here for 6 months, and that was her pet peeve. Like, whenever there's a blower starting, she'd send me a text, Mom, what is this? So because it is annoying, but I just wondering, what did this owner say to Ray Brothers so that they had 2 guys raking instead of blowing? So that's just a comment. I think it's worth investigating. So that's all I'll say.
Well, I mean, these flyers are focused on both the landscapers and the owners. They talk about how we need to, mow our leaves into the grass and use rakes more. Blah blah blah. We've done this many times in forums. So This flyer will be just another level of, this is what you have to do. We have to change our behavior. It's not just about using electric leaf blowers. So anyway, okay, so that's all I really wanted to share. And maybe I'll add in the flyer about potential for incentives, Robin. But I think, I just wanted to bring it up. So I wanted to jump to, we were talking about recycling issues, and I wanted to share some information with you guys. There's a lot of communities, both incorporated and unincorporated around us, that I'm in constant touch with in a thread. And there is concern about single stream and multiple stream recycling. And our contractor, whose name is Good, Goode, they're in the process of installing new machines that will recycle and can do a lot of interesting things, none of which I know about, but we've been invited for a tour. There's going to be 8 of us from different municipalities going there, like January 18th. So that's like a month plus from now, to see what type of recycling they can do, whether it's better or not, which will help us talk about this conversation, single versus multiple streams. So again, our present contractor can do, and we'll be doing in the future. Does someone have a comment about that? I just heard someone's voice. Okay. So in addition to that, I was talking to Veronique earlier today, and she pointed out that, we only have at present about 185 of our 415 households that are now composting with Compost Crew. Now there are people that individually compost in their backyard already and don't use the service. I don't know, how many, but Veronique asked if we would consider as a committee the possibility of basically expanding the program to the whole town. So in the meantime,
yeah, can I just give the perspective from this, is that before we, at the same time that we look at recycling, if we do not look at holistically at all waste management toward reducing waste, then we're not, we're not going in the right direction. I also shared with Barton that it was lacking time, sometimes to look at all of the details of those suggestions. But for me, the first low-hanging fruit, well, one of the things that I want to congratulate the town on doing is a much better job at when we want to get rid of our stuff and treasure at, donating, reusing, etc. The second low-hanging fruit for me is evidently compost. I cannot compare it. Barton was asking me, is it mandatory in other towns in Maryland? I said, I don't know, but I live half of the time in Quebec, and there every municipality has to come out by a plan for 2020, and some of them are behind, but they've come up with everything, including how to do it in apartment buildings. So it means at the other end that
I have information, Veronique. Actually, I've done some research.
Yeah. So what I'm saying here is, how do we, and I don't like the word force, because I think, Robin, you just mentioned that, but how do we offer it to everyone and just continue in collaboration with Compost Crew to educate everyone? It's like everyone gets a recycling bin. Why is it that everyone doesn't get a composting bin? So it's a basic principle, but somehow any language that's possible for this to go to the town and budget that, or Robin to tell us, what more do you need to go in that direction?
Thank you very much. Can I just add some information to the conversation before other people speak? So I did talk to the owner of Compost Crew, who obviously is very knowledgeable about composting in the region and nationally. He said there are many municipalities that already compost as a whole. And he basically said in Montgomery County that the county is now sponsoring 1,700 households sponsored by the county to compost, and they're hoping to roll it out for the entire county in the next couple of years.
Right.
He also told me, this guy's name is Ben Perry.
Ben Perry, yeah.
And he also said that right now, all of our Arlington County in Northern Virginia already, they're completely composting. Everyone gets their own bin or bucket. He also said that PG County is already doing a lot of composting, and they're planning to roll it out for the whole county next year. And in addition, he said that he himself, compost crew, is servicing a lot of incorporated townships already in Montgomery County, including Section 5, Martin's Addition, Chevy Chase Village, that are doing it in entirety already.
Yeah, if I could, I mean, I'm going to have to leave in a minute or two, but I'm currently the vice chair of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee of the county, so I know all that actually. And the county is indeed introducing food scraps pickup through 2 pilot programs at the moment. One of them has started in downtown Silver Spring, and the other one is going to start soon in Potomac. And that the intention is to extend that to the whole county, and they're taking the food scraps to a Prince George's site, which is regulated by the state. To Veronique's question, if it's a budget problem, first of all, the cost of the compost is something like 40-something thousand at the moment, and it would double or more than double if the whole town was composting. And so that's more money that has to be found. The other problem with giving compost bins out to everybody is not everybody uses the compost bins. Even though you mandate it, it still is the case that a number of people continue to put their food scraps into their general waste. And it is very hard to change that. The other approach that the county is considering, and I've tried to talk about this on this committee, and they are going forward with this too, is a pay-as-you-throw model. And so with introducing food scraps delivery, you actually have pay-as-you-throw, which means that you pay directly for the trash that you put out.
Yeah.
They're using a 3-bin model. I talked to them. They should call them Little Bear, Mommy Bear, and Papa Bear. But the idea is you pay for the bin that you get. So you might want to buy a little bin, and that's all you're going to use every week. You're only going to fill that little bin, or a mid-sized bin, or a big bin.
With what?
With landfill trash is the original concept.
So Robin, I saw, actually this is why I intervened a little bit with Barton saying we need to look at things holistically. And I said, ultimate model is what they do. They do this in Ithaca. It's by bag. And it's near Cornell, so someone must have studied this at one point. So if the county is going in that direction, so there's all of this, to think about, like, what does it mean? Do we start to get people on board by investing ourselves in being proactive? I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, what I like about the approach is it is more holistic. It's all of trash. It's considered.
Yes, that's what I like too. I totally agree with it.
I'd like to hear what Ralph has to add. Please go ahead, Ralph.
Okay, I had my hand up actually from before. I just wanted to contribute to the conversation about lending out leaf blowers. So why don't we, well, I'll just say it. Sometimes lending the leaf blowers, also it's lending the batteries. And if people start getting batteries that aren't fully charged, it could backfire. It could have the opposite effect by making it harder for people and make them turn them off to the idea rather than on. That's all.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry for not seeing your hand because I'm conducting this Zoom call on my iPhone and I'm not able to see everybody at the same time. So my computer has a mic problem, but sorry about that.
Okay. Also, just on this conversation, I think it'd be a great idea to provide bins, maybe keep them at town hall. Say the entire town is hooked up and signed up to this. Pick up your bin. I I can't remember, but I don't think we originally gave cycle bins to everyone. We had them available. Anyone could get one. But you know, they had to get it. And I think for the recycle, for the compost bins, I don't know. I think it's a great goal, a great idea. I think there are details to work out. That's all.
All right, guys, I'm going to have to leave. Sorry, my dinner has been brought in and it's beginning to cool. I'm being told by my wife, so I better get out just to maintain equilibrium at home, shall we say? So yeah, I'll leave you to it. I'm sure you can work it out. All right.
Thank you, Robin. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Okay, Donna, do you have any comments? Are you with us?
I'm still here.
Okay, great. So it looks like we do have an interest in, you know, having a holistic approach. Now, as far as like the bins for landfill, I know that's different from composting, even though, you know, we're trying to do a lot of things in parallel here. We're trying to, you know, move the needle and at the same time in doing multiple activities. So am I sensing that people are interested in recommending that we encourage the town council to consider the possibility of bringing the compost crew in for the entire town and having to spend basically, as Robin said, my calculation is about $35,000 a year added onto about the same amount, doubling it essentially for this composting. Now, keep in mind that when Montgomery County start this program, we would probably phase it out and sort of become incorporated or, you know, swallowed up by the county program. But do I have a feeling from everyone that they support this idea, or are there more things that we need to talk about?
I think we could support it. I think that I'm wondering if it's actually a good thing to mention exactly what you said, that long-term we, you know, we'd probably roll into a county program, especially if the county program is holistic, like something like this, just so that the town realizes that this is a temporary, you know, thing that we're trying to do. So.
Do I have any other comments from people?
Yeah, I have a comment, which is, I think, you know, it's a good idea. I think we should look into it more. Just wanted to give you another data point. I was listened to the climate change town hall that the county council did last week. And this came up, this discussion of the compost program. And there is going to be a capacity issue that right now, even the two pilots they're doing in Silver Spring and Potomac are still sending their compost over to the Prince George's site. And if it's going to be the full county, we'll have to find a place in county to do that. And, PG will not be able to take it all. And there is, you know, issues having to do where you're going to do that. Negotiations is going to be at the land, you know, the leaf place where they put it. The neighbors are not on board yet, you know, to adding composting to that same site. So anyways, it's just, I don't think it's near. I think this is, you know, it's going to take a bit of time. That's my 2 cents.
Right.
Information. Where is Compost Crew going? PG?
PG.
Okay, so in a way, we're taking the heads up, and we, you know, forget about joining the county when it's there for the county. We can do it. You know, normally it happens all in sync. You know, if I look at what I saw this summer in Quebec City, is like the plant is being built beside the recycling plant. Like it's all integrated. It's one place. So I'm not sure, you know, and anyway, it can be done very cleanly because this was beside a beach. So, you know, I just don't buy that it's not feasible for Montgomery County, but we can let them deal with that. But meanwhile, offering it to everybody for free, again, not just an opt-in, but having a bin for everyone there, you know, extending it. I think if I came and moved here and they said everybody's composting, I'm just going to compost. Everybody's recycling. I don't know what the issue is from there.
Okay, Ralph, would you like to say?
Just a question. There are so many things. Are we sure that when Montgomery County says all Montgomery County is going to do it, that includes us? There's so many things that they do and we have to do separately because we're incorporated.
We don't know the answer to that question because it's so preliminary. So I think we should, you know, we already have composting for half the neighborhood, and there's no reason why we shouldn't consider composting for the rest of the neighborhood. If everybody wants to do it, then we should do it. Now, you know, I think that asking people to compost, you know, raises some issues like, well, I already do it in my backyard, so I don't need the bucket. You know, you're going to find some side stories in every situation. You know, I don't need a landfill because I don't make any landfill. You know what I mean? But, you know, we have these buckets anyway. Like my sister in San Francisco makes like one small trash bag of landfill a week, you know, and I was bragging to her that I do 3, you know what I mean? So, you know, some people are not even using some of their buckets right now. So, I mean, I think that it would be great to have the composting as like, you know, just your default bucket in the side of the house, like a recycling bin. I see that idea.
So another thing to consider, and maybe this is for the next meeting so that it's more, you know, ironed out. Another thing I have noticed in cities that do it is actually for a family, it's a much bigger bucket. You know, it is a bucket that's the same size than recycling, and people put their leaves, they put everything in. So so we need to come up, you know, with 2 of us, our compost bucket is full. So I don't know, do we put temporary language for the town because it's timely for the budget? Or do we iron it out a little bit more? Like that's my hesitation. Because I would easily put a motion on if you feel that we're ready to put one.
Ralph, is your hand up?
Yeah. As a possible way to save some money, what if we just said the default is everybody gets the compost, but give people the option of opting out? If they're not going to do it, they're not going to do it anyway. And if we had, you know, maybe we go from 50% to 75%, but we'd save half of that, $35,000 extra dollars.
It's a good idea. So opt out instead of opt in.
Yeah.
Well, it costs us $1,400 or $1,500 to buy buckets for the rest of the neighborhood. We could give the buckets to everybody, and say we will pay for everybody for the first 3 months, or whatever, 6 months. And at that point, we could say, if you would like to continue, please let us know in the survey, and we will, you know.
But that's an opt-in. If you will not like to continue.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. If you would not like to continue, let us know. Yeah, that's the better way to do it. Yes, I agree with that.
So something like a motion that says in an approach to look at our waste more holistically, we suggest that the town expand the compost program by making it an opt-out program versus an opt-in program. That's it.
Anybody have, that's a motion that I hear. Does anyone want to edit that motion?
Someone needs to write it.
I'll second it. I like it.
Okay, well, we have a second. I mean, I thought what you said, Veronique, was pretty simple. It was an opt-out program.
But to preface it, the reason is as an effort to move toward a more holistic waste management program. Solid waste management program.
Well, you've said it on the video. We have it recorded. David's going to.
Okay, good.
I think it's sufficient to call a vote unless there's any other questions.
I'm sorry, I just was distracted for a second. What was the motion?
Could you make the motion one more time, Veronique, since you...
I'm going to try. And Ralph, since you like to tell me if I forget something. So in an effort to make a more holistic waste management program, to move toward a more holistic waste management program, the committee is asking the town to move the compost program from an opt-in program to an opt-out program.
Okay.
Starting at a date of their choice.
Okay.
The date of whose choice?
The town council.
Okay.
But no later, I mean, we could say, you know, in 2020, at a date of their choice in 2022. There you go.
Okay, yeah, so it could fit in there. Excellent.
Are we going to be having any significant changes in, say, 2022 in our recycling and trash?
Well, that's going to depend on what I hear from good recycling services and landfill services, and we might need to change our contract next year. So we just don't know at this point.
Isn't our contract up in June of this coming year?
I think it is. So we might have to renew it or change it.
But that doesn't, yeah.
Is that related? I don't think that's a related question to the compost.
Well, I was just thinking it might make sense to have the dates the same.
Okay.
As of this date, we're making these changes.
So you want to do it as of June 20?
Well, if there are no changes, then we can do the compost anytime.
Yeah, but we could write, you know, hopefully in 2022 and or in 2022 and let the council see what's most useful for them on a practical manner.
I think it's best to just leave it at the date, timing up to them, and not pigeon, not
say nothing,
force the hand.
Yeah, so you decide there. I don't really care from there. I just don't want to see this dragged on.
Okay, so I think what you just said, Veronique, is sufficient. Do I have a second to that motion? It's basically what she said before.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Donna. Okay, so all voting now, raise your hand or say aye. Okay, do we have, I didn't see, okay. See, David, I don't, did you vote, Veronique? I didn't see your hand or anything. Yes, okay, okay, so we do have, that passed, excellent. Okay, it's 7:15. We've been on together for an hour and 15 minutes. I'd like to suggest the possibility of just postponing the rest of the agenda items for another time. Does anybody have any objection to that? The last thing that I do want to talk about is Dave has mentioned to me that he is would like to step down from writing the minutes. Is that still true, Dave? Or can you?
Yes, it is. I've been invited and to participate along with Donna on the history committee. And you know, added a level of work, I would like to step down from taking minutes.
Okay. Well, we need somebody else to fill in first. Hopefully, somebody on this call.
And by the way, I am taking notes, but I'll do the minutes for this meeting.
Okay. Is there anyone on this Zoom meeting willing to take minutes going forward? Okay, I didn't hear any responses, so Dave, the only thing I can think of is I think Andrew has expressed some compassion for the amount of work that you have been doing with the minutes. So I'm going to talk to him offline about that possibility and see whether he would be kind enough to take on that responsibility. So it's unresolved at the moment, but I'll work on it. Okay, Dave. I can't hear you.
Sure, fine. I would like to step down. So yeah, okay. I don't want it to be the fault that I'll continue.
Okay. Veronique,
I need to step out.
Okay,
Sorry.
I think we're bringing this to a close. So thank you everybody for tonight. Okay. And the last thing is, Veronique did say about the possibility of meeting every 2 months, but once in a while adding in the month. I don't know whether do you feel like you want to meet next month? Let's do that maybe to revisit the solar panels. And then we could have a very short meeting and then go from there. Why don't we do that? Okay. So I will be in touch with everybody about our next meeting, and have a nice evening, everybody.
All right, take care, everyone.
Bye-bye. Great work tonight.